All right, welcome back to the UJ Chevrolet pregame show. Todd Morris with you here on the Bulldog Radio Network. Time to sit down with UMS-Wright head football coach Sam Williams for our pregame interview. And Coach picked up a road win last week in Bruton against the number one ranked team in 3A, a 29-6 victory over the T.R. Miller Tigers. And we needed a quality win against a quality opponent. How do you feel about our performance overall?
Yeah, I felt really good about it. It wasn't at all times. It wasn't the cleanest thing.
No.
It happens sometimes off of a bye week. Kind of takes you a little bit to get going. Kind of changed our emphasis, which we talked about that a little bit in the bye week. Kind of got back to being a little more physical, making sure that we understood that there's going to be points in time in the year that we have to run the football and we have to be able to stop the run. And I think we did a good job of that. I think we had 245 yards rushing or something like that. In turn, I thought it was Max, who played really well. It was probably his highest graded game, just rhythm-wise. I didn't think he got in a great rhythm, so we'll have to do a better job of that this week. But all in all, a really good game for us.
Talking about Max real quick, I saw for the first time on the sidelines some frustration from him. What are your thoughts? I don't think that's a bad thing, but because I think as a quarterback, you got to own what's going on out there, and I think he's gotten to that point where he feels responsible for the offense. And so, what are your thoughts? And you were talking about that. What do you do now to help him get back into that more comfortable feel?
Yeah, no, I think it was more just frustration with himself. Because there was some stuff that we talked about that was a little different game plan wise that he didn't execute, and he gets frustrated when he doesn't do that. But he's still just as confident. He had a great week this week of practice, so it's just get back on the bike and ride. We kind of did a little more fundamental stuff, but, have those conversations about when the game's scripted and, throwing the ball 55 times, you got to still find a way to get in rhythm and stay in rhythm. So,
yeah. So, overall, I thought the defense played really well last week. We gave T.R. Miller a short field there, and they were able to capitalize the one time. But overall, Kaplan, read back in the defense, give your assessment of that group and how they played last week.
Yeah, they played great. It was our best game on defense. We knew that would be a physical team and a really good test for that because we knew they would line up and want to run the football. I thought we did a great job of stopping the run. I thought we played really physical all night. It was really good to have Cappy back out there, obviously in a limited capacity game one, and his role just obviously continued to grow as he feels better and better. But just another good game out of that linebacker unit. The D-line continued to do a really good job, and the DBs did a good job of not letting anything behind them.
Right.
Other than the one where we missed about 20 tackles on one play, they really didn't do much at all. So.
Yeah. Talk about the different style of play that we saw and the adjustments that we have to make. T.R. Miller was happy to rush 3 and drop 8. We hadn't seen that for a few weeks against BC Rain, LaFleur, Viger, who are more man-to-man teams. Talk about how you, as a play caller, and the team has to adjust to that. All of a sudden, we're seeing eight zone defenders out there.
Yeah, I think it goes back to you got to be able to run the football. Then what I mean, like it's the old classic offensive play calling. If it's too high, run. If it's one high, pass it. Right. And it's obviously a lot more complex than that. But I think that was why it was so important to just get back to getting in the mentality up front that we can run the football on anybody. Is hey, if everybody's going to drop 8 or play with a light box because they think we're going to throw it, we got to be able to pound it up in there. And then when they do that, we can hurt them in the passing game. So I think it'll be a little more balanced this week. Just Citronelle's a little bigger up front. You're not going to just sit there and push them around all night, but you do have to have a physical mentality.
Huge stretch of games coming up for us here. These next 4, we're back into region play. Talking about it's October, and so you expect it's now because you start looking at those playoff scenarios. Talk about this stretch of games, Citronelle in specifically, because you don't want to look ahead to Williamson. Citronelle's got some playmakers.
Yeah, I mean you do have to focus this week, but you do have to look ahead and understand where you're going. You know, and I think that's always important for the kids to understand and the coaches. And so Citronelle, a really good football team. I'll be honest with you, they are 2-4, but they should be 4-2 because I have not seen a team get hosed as bad as they did on the last. I'll tell you, it was the worst thing I've ever seen, man. Like they had an 80-yard touchdown called back at the very end of the game that it pretty much changed the outcome.
Right.
That was not a holding, and so they probably are super hungry for this one. They're really fighting for their lives at this point in the region. They've got to have a win. So you're going to see a desperate team out of them, and we've got to go out and do the things we have to do to execute to win that football game. It's going to require that we play really well. But then if you do that, you set yourself up for a huge one the next week where now you're in the 1-3 conversation. You still are in there. You're still in the fight. And so that's our goal, is to make sure we get this one and then give ourselves an opportunity to play in another huge game where, you're really playing for seeding at that point in time.
Yeah. Talk about at this point in the year, we talk about it's a huge game, but I think the level of, what do I want to say, not the enthusiasm level picks up. I think everybody starts seeing it. Here we are, second half of the season. All these games now just really mean something, and you're looking to play. Are you seeing that from the kids? Or are you seeing that from the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I use sense of urgency, right? Like I talk about it all the time, and I do it early in the year because when we get to this time of year, you got to have it. But you got to have a sense of urgency. Like you can't go out and have bad games this time of year. You know what I mean? Because one bad game can really change course of a whole season. And if you have that mentality when you get to the playoffs, you understand you got to win anyway. So it's one game seasons, but I've seen a lot in them and from the coaches. Just kind of, hey, we're to the point now where you know who we are and what we can do, what we do well, and what layers can we add, what can we execute, and every week there has to be an emphasis. It has to be intentional that we've got to get better at certain areas, and so that's what we've really honed in on this week is finding that area that we have to get good at and finding what works for Friday night.
Because I think when you get to this point, that execution level has to be tighter.
Yes,
so
for sure.
It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to, when you got 11 kids on the field, it's never going to be perfect. People don't understand that, but it's just got to be tighter.
Yeah. I mean, it's about having less inefficient plays, right? Or less plays that you don't execute than the other team. And you hear the old cliche thing that it comes down to 3 to 5 plays a game. Well, it truly does, and you want to be the team that's making those 3 to 5 plays. And so, this week again, back to what we did. You're going back and you're tackling. You're going back to your pursuit. Offensively, you're going back to your progressions. You're going back to fundamental things. And you want to see that pay off, and you want to see translation to the game.
I love this time of the year. I mean, the weather's changing. It feels like football weather. It's not 90 degrees anymore, but of course it could be next week. We never know.
Probably.
But anyway, I love this time of the year because I feel like, I don't want to say not all the games matter, but here we are. We're already talking about the playoffs and all of those things. I think it gets exciting. I think it gets exciting for the kids. It gets exciting for the school. Everybody kind of starts looking forward to it. At this point in the season, are you happy where we are? Are you never satisfied? I don't want to say that, but are you happy with the progression of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm real pleased. I mean, obviously, you wish you have 0 losses at all time. I mean, you want to win every one, but you can't preach that you don't look back in the past and you march forward to the future if you don't believe that. So, I mean, I think I'm super proud of our kids. I think that they have a real strong sense of belief in each other. They believe that on any given night they can go out and beat somebody, and that's what you want is a group of kids that genuinely believes that. And I think that we've shown that throughout the year. Again, come up short in a couple of games that, maybe if we played again or, make a couple plays here and there, we win. But that's what you want. And, as you go into this one, you gotta go win it. You got to get yourself in the playoffs. I think this one will just about lock it up. So that's what we're doing right now is making sure we're setting ourselves up to do that, accomplish that goal, and then finish as high as we can in region after we do that.
All right, Coach, that all sounds great. Thanks for joining us here on the pregame show. Looking forward to it. Good luck tonight. And as you say, we're setting this up for what could be a big one next week, but we don't want to talk about that yet. We'll get that one next week.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Coach. That's UMS-Wright head football coach Sam Williams joining us here on the UJ Chevrolet pregame show. So stick around. We'll be back with the opening kickoff in just a minute. You're listening to the Bulldog Radio Network here on Sports Talk 99.5 Mobile, an iHeart radio station.